The calendar, How Luisa Received the Gift, from the Book of Heaven Volume 1, by Luisa Piccarreta. Part 8. From here, a war arose against me on the part of priests. Some would say that it was a pretense, some that beating was needed, some that I wanted to make myself believe a saint, some would add that I was possessed, and many other things, such that, if I wanted to tell them all, the story would be too long. So, with these ideas in their minds, when sufferings would occur and my family would call one of them, they would have such strange reactions, that my poor family suffered very much, especially my poor mama. How many tears she shed for me. Oh, Lord, reward her, you yourself. Oh, my good Lord, how much I suffered on this side, you alone know everything. So, who can tell how bitter this situation was for me, that the priest was needed in order to free me from that state of sufferings. How many times I prayed, shedding most bitter tears, that he would free me. How many times I made explicit resistance to the Lord when he wanted me to offer myself as victim and accept the pains. I would say to him, Lord, promise me that you yourself will free me, and then I will accept everything, otherwise, no, I don't want to accept. And I would resist the first day, the second, the third. But who can resist God? He would tell me so many things, that in the end I was forced to submit myself to the cross. Other times, I would say to him from the heart and with familiarity, Lord, how is it that you have done this? Between you and me, you now want to place a third? And this third one does not want to make himself available. See, we could have been so content, the two of us. When you wanted me to suffer, I would immediately accept, because I would know that you yourself would free me. There is no need of another hand now. I beg you, free me, and both of us will be more content. Sometimes he pretended not to hear me, and he would not tell me anything. Then other times, he would say, do not fear, I am the one who gives darkness and light. The time of the light will come. It is my usual way to manifest my works through the priests. So I spent 3 or 4 years of these contradictions on the part of priests. Many times they would subject me to very hard trials. They would reach the point of letting me remain in that state of sufferings, that is, petrified, incapable of any slightest motion, even of taking a drop of water, for 18 days, more or less, when they pleased to do so. The Lord alone knows what I was going through in that state, and after they came, I would not even have the good of hearing them say to me, have patience, do the will of God. Rather, I was reproached as being fussy and disobedient. Oh, God, what pain, how many tears I shed. How many times I thought I was disobedient, saying to myself, how can this be? That virtue which is the most pleasing to the Lord is so far away from me. What good can a disobedient soul ever do or hope for? Many times, I would lament to our Lord, and at times I reached the point of being resentful, and when he wanted me to accept sufferings, I would resist as much as I could. But when he saw that I would begin to resist, the Lord showed he would not pay attention to me and he would not tell me anything else. And then, all of a sudden, he would come to surprise me. As for what the confessor said, that is because sometimes he did not want me to fall into that state, but this was not in my power. Yet it is true that I have been disobedient, and that I have always been good at nothing, but I also remember that the most tormenting pain for me was that of not being able to obey. I remember that during this period of time there was the cholera. One day I prayed my good Jesus to make this scourge cease. And he said to me, I will content you, as long as you accept offering yourself to suffer whatever I want. I said to him, Lord, no, I cannot. You know how they think. If this thing could pass only between me and you, I would have been absolutely ready to accept everything. And he said to me, "My daughter, if I had thought of what men were thinking and of what they were going to do with me, I would not have operated the redemption of mankind. But I had my eyes fixed on their salvation, and the great love that devoured me made me act in this way. When I would see people who were thinking ill about me, and who caused occasion to make me suffer more, I would offer those very pains that they gave me for their own salvation. Have you forgotten that what I want from you is the imitation of my life, and that I will make you share in everything I suffered? Don't you know that the most beautiful act, the most heroic and most pleasing to me, which you must offer to me, is that of offering yourself for the very ones who are against you?" I remained mute. I did not know what to answer. I accepted everything the Lord wanted, and so in the evening I was surprised by that state of sufferings, and I remained in it for 3 consecutive days. Then, after I came round, I no longer heard anything about the cholera. After this, I received another mortification, and this was having to change confessor, because since he was a religious, he was called back to the convent. I was content with him, and most of those dins mentioned above occurred when he was in the countryside, especially during the last year he was my confessor. Because of the cholera spreading in town, he spent only 6 months here. My confessor did not give many reproaches. He would let me remain in that state of sufferings for 1 day, and then he would come. So, it was less than a month since he had withdrawn to the countryside, and it became known that he was leaving. This was painful for me, not because I was attached, but because of the necessity I had of him. So I went to the Lord and I told him of my pain, and he said to me, "I do not want you to afflict yourself because of this. I am the master of hearts, and I can turn them and turn them again as I please. If he did some good to you, he has been nothing but a vessel which received from me, and gave to you. So I will do with the others. What do you fear then? My dear, as long as you keep turning your eye now to the right, now to the left, and you let it set now on something, now on something else, and you do not have your eye fixed on me, you will not be able to walk speedily along the way of heaven. On the contrary, you will always be limping and will not be able to follow the influence of grace. Therefore I want you to look at all the things that surround you with holy indifference, remaining all intent on me alone." After these words, my heart acquired so much strength that I suffered little or nothing from such a great loss, of one who had done so much good to my soul. So it happened that I changed confessor, and I returned to the confessor who used to confess me when I was little. But may the Lord be always blessed who uses those very paths which appear to be contrary to us, almost as if they were to bring harm to our soul, for our greater good and for his glory. So it happened that I began to open my soul, since up to that point I had not said anything to anyone. As much effort as I would make over myself, I could not manage, even more. I would see myself more impotent to tell of the things of my interior. The blushing I felt at the mere thought of telling these things was such that I felt it would have been easier for me to tell the ugliest sins. Where this came from, I don't know. From the confessor, I don't think so, because he was so good, trustful, sweet, patient in listening. He would take a most exact care of the soul. He would have his eye on everything, so that I might walk straight. From me, I don't think so either, because I felt a block over my soul, and I had all the will to free myself and to hear at least what the confessor thought about it, but I felt it was impossible for me to do it. To me, I think that there was an intervention of the Lord. So, finding myself with the new confessor, I began to open my interior, little by little. Many times the Lord commanded me to manifest to the confessor what he had told me, and when I would not do it, the Lord would scold me, he would reproach me severely. and at times he reached the point of telling me that if I did not do it, he would come no more, which is the most bitter pain for me, such that all the other pains compared to this seemed to be nothing but blades of straw. Therefore, the fear that he would really not come was so great, that I did as much as I could in order to manifest my interior. It is true that many times this cost me very much, but the fear of losing my dear Jesus would make me overcome everything. I was also pushed by the confessor to say where such a state was coming from, what happened to me when I was in that doziness, what was the cause of it. He would now command me to manifest it, now force me through the precepts of obedience, and now place before me the fear that I might be living in illusion and deceit, living within myself, while if I manifested it to the priest, I could be more certain and tranquil, because the Lord never permits that the priest be mistaken when the soul is obedient. So, Jesus Christ pushed me from one side, the confessor from the other. It seemed to me that sometimes they were banding together, the two of them, the confessor and Jesus Christ. And so I managed to manifest my soul. The past confessor would not do that. He would not ask me a question, he would not try to know what was happening to me in that state of doziness, and so I myself did not know how to come out and talk about these things. The concern he had was that I be resigned, conformed to the will of God, bearing the cross that the Lord had given me, so much so, that if sometimes he saw me a little bothered, he would suffer great sorrow. So it happened that I spent about another year with this confessor, in the same state described above. And since the confessor knew where that state of sufferings was coming from, he told me that when Jesus Christ wanted me to have sufferings, I should go to him to ask for the obedience. I remember that one morning, after communion, the Lord told me, "Daughter, the iniquities that are committed are so many that the scale of my justice is about to overflow. Know that I will pour heavy scourges upon men, especially a most fierce war in which I will make a slaughter of the human flesh." Ah, yes. He continued, almost crying, "I gave bodies to men that they might be as many sanctuaries where I would go to delight in them, but they have turned them into sewers of rot, which emanate such stench as to force me to stay far away from them. See what a recompense I receive for so much love and for the so many pains I have suffered for them. Who has ever been treated like me? Ah, no one. But what is the cause? It is the excessive love I have for them. Therefore, I will try with the chastisements." I felt my heart split with pain. It seemed to me that the offenses they were giving him were so many, that in order to escape, he wanted to hide within me, almost to find a refuge. I also felt such pains because men were to be chastised, that it seems that I myself was to suffer, not them. Even more, it seemed to me that, if I could, it would have been more bearable for me to suffer all of those chastisements myself, rather than to see others suffer. I tried to compassionate him as much as I could, and with all my heart I said to him, "Oh, Holy Spouse, hold back the scourges which your justice has prepared. If the multiplicity of the iniquities of men is great, there is the immense sea of your blood in which you can bury them. In this way your justice will be satisfied. If you have nowhere to go to delight yourself, come into me, I give you all my heart, that you may somehow rest and delight with it. It is true that I too am a bilge of vices, but you can purify me and make of me what you want. But, oh please, placate yourself. If the sacrifice of my life is necessary, oh, how gladly I would make it for you, as long as I may see your own images spared." And the Lord, interrupting me, continued, "Here is exactly where I wanted you, if you offer yourself to suffer, no longer every now and then as up until now, but continuously, every day, for a certain given time, I will spare men.